My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
And my name is John Silk, and I am here to host this show. This show is here to reveal who the draw will be, but also our immediate reactions. And I'm about to make that reveal for you right now. And I don't know whether Jasmine Paolini will still be a friend of the show after I give my prediction. But anyway, let me share with you on the big screen exactly the draw, which has just recently taken place. And here it is. So, as I said to you, it's on the big screen. And for those of you obviously listening to the podcast, I can now read out the groups. The first group is called the Steffi Graf group. And it has world number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, who will be joined by Coco Gauff, Jessica Pegula, and Jasmine Paolini. And therefore, if you've done the maths at the back, you will now realize that therefore in the second group, which is the Serena Williams group, it is Iga Swiatek, Amanda Anisimova, Elena Rybakina, and Madison Keys. Do let me know in the live chat if you're watching right now on YouTube what your initial thoughts are on those two groups. Also get in the comments below on YouTube if you are watching this retrospectively. If you're listening on the podcast, then you can just scream into your earphones or to the person sat next to you on the tube, train, bus, or wherever you are. Or maybe you're doing this while you're walking or jogging. Just shout at the next person what you think of this. My initial reaction is as follows. I am going to be joined by Carson and also Brenna. This show will be running for about next half an hour or so. Do make sure you hit the like button and, of course, subscribe. And if you are listening to the podcast, do evaluate and give us a 5 stars if you like the podcast. If you don't like the podcast, you can still give us 5 stars. Anyway, my first reaction is, despite the head-to-head between Aryna Sabalenka and Amanda Anisimova, and therefore they are in different groups, with Anisimova leading that head-to-head, and of course a win at Wimbledon this year included, I actually think it's bad news for Aryna Sabalenka that she gets Coco Gauff. Of course, it was a straight option. Iga Swiatek and Sabalenka were always going to be in separate groups, so it was always going to be a case of who was going to be the next player. And so for Sabalenka, that next player is Coco Gauff. I will come to you in a moment, Carson, with your thoughts. But despite that head-to-head that I know that Aryna has with Amanda Anisimova, I would have thought for Sabalenka fans, just given the recent sort of really tough losses to Coco Gauff in huge matches, i.e. US Open Final 2023, French Open Final 2025, and Coco Gauff also being the champion here and being Anisimova's first time at a WTA Finals. I just think that the Gauff was the more difficult one of those two for Sabalenka. What do you think about that initial? We'll come to Pegula, Paolini, Rybakina, and Keys in a moment, but initially it was always going to be Anisimova or Gauff in Iga or Sabalenka's group. What are your thoughts on it, Carson?
Yeah, I mean, either of them are tough matchups for her. It's not a particularly great head-to-head against either. So, yeah, I think indoor hard court, maybe Gauff is slightly easier for her to face. I think those conditions would maybe favor Anisimova just a little bit more. But, I mean, it's the WTA Finals. These are the best players in the world. Like, none of these matches will be easy.
Right. Interestingly, I think I've got my stats right. Is that Sabalenka has beaten all of these players, every single player in this tournament. So that's for her 7 opponents. She's beaten them all at some point this year. Um, Off the top of my head, I think I might be able to remember them all, but maybe you can fill in the gaps. So these are the 7 other candidates, of course. She beat Coco Gauff in Madrid. She beat Jessica Pegula in New York. She beat Jasmine Paolini in Stuttgart. She beat Iga Swiatek at the French Open. She beat Amanda Anisimova in New York. She beat Rybakina recently in the Asian swing, and she beat Madison Keys in Indian Wells. And there may be 1 or 2 other matches where she won as well against those opponents. Of course, she's lost to Coco Gauff at the French Open, and she's lost to Anisimova as well at Wimbledon. But yeah, that's kind of, we know that Aryna can do it. I don't know. I do know what you mean with the indoor conditions, and yet Coco Gauff is the champion here. So she's the one with the best pedigree in this exact environment in terms of winning the title, albeit maybe slightly gifted by Qin Wenjing last year.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive that you remembered all 7 of those matches, or matches against all 7 of them right off the top of your head. I'm not quite there yet, but
the tricky ones were Paolini, Stuttgart. That could easily slip you by. Maybe Keys, Indian Wells. But the thing with Madison Keys is, and I think we can actually come into her, we'll also row back to Iga Swiatek, because I've sort of initially framed this in a Sabalenka way. But with Keys, there's 2 things that for me make her a real outsider. I think there's 3 or 4 players that would win it, in my opinion, and it would not surprise me at all. In fact, I can think of 4 players. I see 1 or 2 others, and then I see outsiders, and Keys is one of the outsiders. Now, if this tournament had been held in March, she may well have been the favorite, but it's not held in March. It's held in November, much to Rafa Nadal's chagrin, of course, someone who never won it on the ATP side. But Madison Keys had that incredible unbeaten run to begin the year, Carson, and I think that propelled her. And there were some real tough battles she had in Indian Wells, for example. Merton springs to mind, for in particular. But there were tough battles, of course, in Australia. But I think that unbeaten run helped her keep going, just that desperation to keep it going until it just blew up against Sabalenka in that semi-finals. I think it was 6-love, 6-1. And that, I often see unbeaten runs in all sports kind of come crashing down in spectacular fashion, as it did to Madison. And I don't think she's really played anywhere near her peak, at least for several matches in a row, since that loss to Sabalenka. And then you throw in the fact that she's not played since New York in September because of injury. I think she's, somewhere between 7th and 8th favorite here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think she might. For me, she might be the last person I would expect to win this tournament.
Yeah,
it's a really tough group for her. Swiatek, she doesn't have a good head-to-head against her. And Anisimova and Rybakina, conditions just favor both of them a little bit more in this matchup. And as you mentioned, she hasn't played in a while. And when she was playing the last couple of months leading up to the U.S. Open, it wasn't particularly her ceiling either. So it's been a little bit of a stretch since she was playing really, really well. And how many points did she end up with this year? 4,300, 4,400, something like that. And it was 3,000 of those came in the first 2.5 months of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Just looking at some of the head-to-heads, by the way, Iga and Amanda, of course, hadn't played each other until this year. I remember actually on the eve of Wimbledon that that kind of being a thing, that maybe Amanda can take advantage of that. As it turned out, anything but. But then, of course, they played each other again a few weeks later, didn't they? In the US Open, wasn't it? When Amanda Anisimova got some kind of revenge. Yes, it was a straight sets win for her. So, that's 1 each. I'm just going to try and bring up some other head-to-heads as well. So we've got Iga against Madison Keys. Actually, I know, of course, they played each other famously this year in Australia. I think they also played each other in Madrid, I think it was. And I know Madison against Iga on clay is I think a non-start. I think she's never beaten her on clay, but she has got 2 wins overall. I'm going to check to see where they came. One of those, she did get a bagel set against her in Madrid this year, but then Iga suddenly woke up and won it in 3.
Yep.
So the 2 that Madison has won against Iga came on Cincinnati hard courts in 2022. Of course, a few weeks later, Iga was lifting the US Open crown, so no big deal there. But the other one, of course, as I said, came in Australia this year when did she save a match point in that Australian Open semi-final? I think she might have done, no?
I think she did.
I mean, Iga was maybe serving for it, or maybe she had some match points on the Madison serve. It was so fine anyway, the difference between the 2 players that day. And who knows, Iga may well have ended up beating Aryna in the final and could have had 2 slams this year that she'd never won before. But for both Iga Swiatek and Aryna Sabalenka, the career Grand Slam is for 2026 to be achieved. And Iga's the first who's going to have the chance to do that in Australia. Obviously, Aryna's task is a bit bigger because she's never won a slam off hard courts. But yeah, what about Iga Swiatek and this draw? What are your thoughts on her going into this tournament?
It's a pretty fair draw to her overall. We've already mentioned the head-to-head against Madison Keys, but I think she has a winning head-to-head against Rybakina as well. Is that 6-4, I believe, if my memory serves me well? And yeah, she and Anisimova have only played twice. So I would expect her to be in the top 2 of this group.
Yeah, me too. I think I think in one way the draw for Sabalenka is a little tougher just because of the, like I say, I think I would rather be playing the novice Anisimova at this tournament than the title winner of last year in Coco Gauff. But I think on the flip side, I think if you looked at the pair of Pegula and Paolini, maybe for Aryna, that's a bit better than Rybakina. Rybakina's the one. I feel as though Rybakina's a wild card in many respects going into this tournament. The last to qualify, and yet I would probably have her ahead of, personally, I'd have her ahead of Pegula, Paolini, and Keys in the likelihood of tournament winner. Now, you might well disagree, and some people in the chat might disagree. What do you think, Carson?
Rybakina is a real wild card here. I don't know what to expect from her. Like, this is, I mean, if she crashed out after the group stage, like, wouldn't necessarily shock me. And also, she's good enough to win this entire thing. So I think it's going to be really interesting just to follow her, especially through the first couple matches. Looking at her head-to-heads, she's 4-6 against Swiatek. She's never played Anisimova, which is interesting because that's probably the one match in the group where the indoor hard court conditions, which typically would be an advantage for her, might be neutralized a little bit more. And then she and Madison Keys are 3-3 in their matches. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting.
We don't have too many indoor tournaments on the WTA Tour. Maybe Brenna, you can shout some off the top of your head. We've got the WTA Finals, which, depending on which location it's in, but now it's in Riyadh, is indoors. And of course, it was also indoors when it was held in Fort Worth in 2022, I think it was. But what other tournaments? We've got Stuttgart, which is a clay court tournament indoors. There might be 1 or 2 around about February time. Brenna, maybe?
Yeah. What about, was it Linz?
Linz,
I don't even,
yeah. And we have had Ostrava as well, although that's now off the tour, at least for now. But
right.
Yeah, there's a few European ones that get scattered around. I think there's maybe one as well post US Open, maybe in some sort of central-ish European country, Central South, or even Eastern European country. But yeah, what do you think about the draw anyway, Brenna?
I think it's great. I think it's fairly like equal. My only question to you guys, I don't know, like, I haven't gone back and watched clip, but trying to kind of gauge what type of indoor track this is, because that'll obviously help me understand the conditions a little bit better to make some more proper sort of predictions. I mean, I'd go with like probably medium to quick. I know they played same venue last year.
Yeah. What do you know, Carson?
Yeah, I think like medium quick is a fair way to put it.
Yep.
Yeah, and it is the same venue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still indoor hard courts. It probably gives an advantage to everyone you think it does, and is a downside to everyone you think it is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, the Steffi Graf group is highly contested. I think from kind of the recency in terms of who played a lot during the Asian swing. You got Paolini and Pegula who actually met each other, I think, in Shenzhen during Billie Jean King Cup, and then Coco went far, and Sabalenka only played one tournament. Is that correct? So, in terms of that group, I'd probably lean Sabalenka, and I'd maybe even give the edge to Pegula, which is probably not what you guys would have said.
No.
Yep.
No, I'm thinking Coco Gauff. I'll be surprised if Coco doesn't make it out of the group. I think she probably has the best chance of the three others away from Aryna of beating Aryna, in my opinion. So she has a favorable head against Aryna, and I think she's the only one in the group that does have that favorable head-to-head. On top of that, I think her Asian swing, she has had 2 consecutive years now of good Asian swings, picking up big tournaments, and now she's obviously the defending champion. Here, I think if everyone plays to their capability, she is one of the top 4 players in the world. I mean, she is literally, but also, when everyone's playing at their absolute peak. Pegula is probably a bit more of a solid player, and I just see her form. Yes, she had a really good win over Aryna recently, but that was 7-6 in the tiebreak. I saw the exchange at the net, and I thought Aryna's okay with this. It's probably one of the tightest losses of Aryna's career, and yet one of the least painful, just because of how good the moment she's in, in terms of rescuing her season in so many ways by winning the US Open, crazy as it is to say. Yeah, no, I see Gauff ahead of Pegula in this group. What about you, Carson?
Yeah, to be fair to Brenna's point, Pegula does have a winning record against Coco Gauff. It's 4-3, so it's tight. But yeah, and I mean, I think like I'm in picking Sabalenka to come out of that group, I may be like giving her a lot of credit for being able to get some, I think I'm going to say easy wins. These are the top 8 players in the world, relatively easier wins, like not necessarily just easy, like you're playing someone who's ranked 200. But Pegula has beaten her recently, and she's played her really tight a couple of times as well, just even thinking about the US Open this year. So there's a path for her to get out of this group. So I think that I would lean Gauff to come out of this group with Sabalenka, but I mean, I could definitely see a path where Pegula goes through.
Yeah, you have to lean Gauff. Just she won it in these conditions last year, so it would be only right. I guess my only case for Pegula is nice, yeah, good head to head, but more so just like kind of the structure of her last month and a half, kind of outperformed in my eyes and played to a higher level that I thought, maybe she wouldn't be as dedicated, or whatever it may be. So that's kind of where I give her the hope. And just like indoor conditions, very flat hitting. So it sounds like we're not giving Paolini a chance.
I don't think so. I mean, listen, Paolini is somebody who really you can rely on and rely on as a top 10 player now, whereas I think 2 years ago, I remember seeing her at the Jasmine Open in Monastir, and she was someone who you could rely on to make the odd 250 final and be a top 50 player. So it's incredible now how she's one of the more reliable players in the top 10. And there's actually players that I think that could go on and win this title who are less reliable. What does that mean? She could make it out of the group. but I would be surprised, somewhere between surprised and shocked, if she actually ended up lifting the title, because of as well as I'm wondering what Paolini's head-to-heads are like. Does she have many positive head-to-heads against her peers? I mean, the Paolini Sabalenka head-to-head is as follows, which is that Sabalenka leads it by 5-2. The Paolini Gauff head-to-head, I'm going to check out now.
Yeah,
but
I've got all of those pulled up. So that one's 3-3.
Okay.
The one against Pegula. Any guesses on what that one is? If I tell you that they've played 5 times.
I mean, I'm guessing now, just because of the tone, that maybe Jasmine is leading at 3-2. But I would have guessed, if you hadn't have had that tone, I would have assumed that Jasmine. Sorry, I would assume that Pegula was leading it.
Pegula is leading it 5-0.
Oh, okay. Right. Now that I didn't know.
And yeah, I think any path for Paolini to come out of the group probably relies on beating Pegula, just because Gauff and Sabalenka are the other players in there. And so you're asking her, someone who plays a little more defensively, who doesn't hit the ball as hard, to beat someone who hits the ball really hard in conditions that benefit that other player. It's like that one match, I feel like pretty confident in saying that Pegula will win. And I think it's really hard to see Paolini coming out of this group if she doesn't beat Pegula.
Completely agree, yeah. I'm wondering how Paolini's head-to-heads are in general against these players. I know she's just beaten Iga for the first time, but basically it's not a great head-to-head. I'm going to guess something like 6-1 in favor of Iga. It might be 5-1 or something like that. But I'm wondering what I know she's had 1 or 2 good wins against Rybakina, so I'm going to get up there head-to-head as well. I know they're in different groups, but I'm just thinking, I'm just talking bigger picture now in terms of her winning the title, which is why probably subconsciously, maybe even consciously, I would be somewhere between surprise and shock. So she has a 3-3 with Rybakina. I'm wondering if she has a positive head-to-head with any of these fellow contenders.
It's 1-1 with Keys.
1-1 with Keys. 3-3 with Rybakina.
Yeah. 0-2 with Anisimova.
And 0-2. So it's in favor of Anisimova, right?
Yes.
So
in favor
there you go.
Of Amanda.
Some interesting stats that we've already emerged. Basically, Paolini doesn't have a positive head-to-head against any of these players that she's going to be either potentially coming up against or definitely come out against. And it doesn't read great. I think she's got 1 win in about 10 matches against Pegula and Swiatek combined. So, yeah, for all of those reasons, I would be very surprised if Paolini won the title. Does that sound fair, Brenner?
Sounds very fair. Sounds very fair.
Just sort of focusing a little bit more on this first group. Sabalenka, did you hear? I don't know if you heard my stat, Brenner, about Sabalenka and 2025 and this particular tournament. Did you hear what I had to say at the beginning?
I did not.
Okay, so at the beginning, I said that Sabalenka has beaten all 7 of her peers in this tournament. Now, I named them, and Carson was quite impressed by naming the exact matches. Can you name the 7 wins? And she may have had more than 7 against these players, but I named 7 wins against all. And she hasn't played many of them multiple times. I'm thinking she's had 1 match against Iga this year, for example.
Yeah, and I don't think John said this, but all 7 of those wins are from this season.
Yes, sorry, that's what I mean. All from 2025, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you get... Go on, Brenner.
No, I can at least go to U.S. Open to start with, though.
Go on then. Let's go.
Let's
tick them off.
She beat Pegula in the semis and Anisimova in the final.
Right, so that's 2.
That's 2.
Can you get her win over? I think the next maybe easiest would be her win over Swiatek, maybe. Swiatek and maybe Gauff is also an easy-ish one.
Yeah, I mean,
Keys might be an easier one too.
Maybe, I don't know. I think that one might get forgetting in the weeds in a way, despite the interesting scoreline. I think it might get lost in the weeds.
I know. I mean, I'm
What about
thinking she's been
Rybakina?
she's essentially been to every final.
Yeah.
So,
What about Rybakina? Can you remember the win over Rybakina?
um,
I mean, she may have had more than one, but I know she had one, and it was recently in Asia. Anyway, I'm going to fill in the gaps. Gauff was
okay.
Madrid final. Paolini was
Yep.
Stuttgart. Swiatek was French Open, and Rybakina was recently during the Asian Swing. I keep saying during the Asian Swing because was it Wuhan maybe? The Rybakina win.
Yeah.
I think Sabalenka only played one tournament.
No, she beat her in Berlin as well.
Okay, she did.
When,
yeah,
Rybakina had like 4 match points.
Yeah, and it's third set tiebreak. Yeah.
So
I think there's some good stats in favor of Sabalenka in that respect, and some certainly not good stats for Paolini. What about what I posited at the beginning, Brenner? I said immediately that I think from Sabalenka's perspective, I would rather be playing Anisimova in the group than Gauff. It's tight because of that head-to-head and some history between the two players. But I would just if I could have chosen the group for Sabalenka, I probably would have chosen Pegula and Paolini, but I would have also chosen Anisimova over Gauff.
Well, I'll start by posing how come you would rather, play Gauff outside of the group stage?
No. I would rather have Anisimova in the group from Sabalenka's perspective than just in terms of winning as many matches as you can. So if you said to me, who do you want in your group, Anisimova or Gauff? I'm going Anisimova quite clearly as well.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And then I would go Pegula over Rybakina as well. Not because I'm not thinking Rybakina could easily lose all 3 matches here. She's getting better in terms of consistency, but I still just think that Rybakina trips up Sabalenka more often than Pegula does, despite that recent 2 results that she had against those 2 respective players.
Totally. I mean, I feel like Madison Keys is the outlier here, right? Because you just don't really have much to go off of. I mean, especially in these conditions, but let alone just form, right? So that's kind of like the question mark. Do you want her in your group? Do you not want her in your group? Does she get better over each match? And that's something that I don't think we have yet, so it's hard to discuss. But kind of the order of matches, and who knows? You could have a dead rubber, but I guess it's.
Do we know the order of the matches?
I don't think so. I kind of looked at it.
That was
no.
I didn't see that published anywhere.
Right now, it doesn't feel that it might, as the tournament evolves, become a big thing, depending on who wins and loses the first matches in particular. There's quite a few level head-to-heads, and here's another one, Madison Keys and Rybakina. So, yeah, it's quite a few, equal ones. I know Paolini's got at least a couple of ties in her head-to-heads. As you would expect with, the WTA Finals, there's some super, super close ones. There was a 6-5, I think. Was it Gauff 6-5 ahead of Sabalenka, for example? Let's switch over to Iga's group. I'm calling it Iga's group as the highest ranked player, although I think it's officially called the Serena Williams group, maybe. Is that the official title? Yes, it is. Yeah. Let's talk about Iga's group, Brenner. What do you think about her chances of getting out of the group?
I like her from an experience standpoint. Having been here multiple years, having won the WTA, finals, and being that head honcho of the group. But in terms of players that Iga would not like to see, I think they all check the box just in terms of their ability to rush the opponent, especially in these conditions. I feel like Riyadh might be a little higher bouncing, but that's kind of just me feeling that. That would be helpful for her, but yeah, it's definitely difficult. I mean, you got 3, flat hitters and people who take the ball early. So, if you're Swiatek, that's not ideal in your case, but I think she's done a good job, as we saw both Wimbledon, U.S. Open, hard courts in general, Cincinnati, her ability to kind of problem solve. And I feel like she's progressed a lot. That was kind of her big thing this year, and her I guess, big idea and element that came out of her work with Wim Fissette. So I think she's plenty there, especially from the mental perspective. But if these players do kind of redline a bit, it gets frustrating from her point of view.
It does look like we've already got actually the first couple of days. It starts on Saturday, am I right? I think it starts.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
On the 1st.
Saturday the 1st, exactly. In the afternoon local time, and it's 1 or 2 hours ahead, I think, of Europe, UK, and obviously it'll be sometime a reasonable time in the morning if you're in New York, and super early in the morning if you're in California or the West Coast of the US.
You have day one, yeah.
Yeah, so this is actually day 2 I've got. I can't find day 1 for some reason.
Yeah, that is odd.
Thanks to Jean for just sending me day 2's at least anyway schedule, but it's very easy to work out, or at least we know that the Swiatek group will start on day 1. But I'm just looking for the day 1 schedule if it is around. I've got the day 2 one, but not the day 1 one. But I know that Swiatek's group, despite being second on the screen, so Sabalenka Paolini. Yeah, I don't have that one at stage, but anyway, we've got the day 2 one there, and we know that Sabalenka's group will be first. Swiatek's group will be first. But yeah, so yeah, not that I think it makes a huge amount of difference whether Sabalenka. It's sort of more as the group evolves that you go, oh, this third match now could well be a shootout or a dead rubber, for example. All right, shall we get down to any final things to say on what we've already said, Carson, or shall we get into some sort of predictions and thoughts?
Yeah, maybe just one quick note. Like, I feel like Anisimova is maybe the unknown quantity in this format. Like, she hasn't been here before. This is her first time. We did mention her 1-1 head-to-head against Swiatek. She's never played Rybakina before. She's never played Keys before. So I think that's interesting, I think, for like top 10 players to not have faced each other, but maybe just something to keep an eye on. Like, this is the first time that they'll ever be playing each other. So yeah, who knows how that can go.
I know that Brenner has to just leave us shortly. He might be able to come back, and that'd be great if he can, but if not, no worries. Thanks, Brenner. So I'm going to get into some predictions, and if we're lucky enough, we'll get Brenner to come back and he can give us his. But I'm going to go with, not maybe that controversially, I'm going to go with Sabalenka and Gauff and Swiatek and Anisimova to emerge from the 2 groups.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm picking Sabalenka and Gauff to come out of group 1. Is that the Steffi Graf group, I think? And then group...
So you're going with, sorry, who from that group?
Sabalenka and Gauff.
Same as me,
and then, group 2, I'm going Swiatek and Anisimova.
Same as well, yeah.
This
is not like super certain, because you lose one match and you could almost be out. So, I don't know if it's Swiatek versus Anisimova, for example, in the first match, and suddenly, even though you're one of the 2 favorites to emerge from that group, you lose that match and you're suddenly in huge trouble. And then the winner of Rybakina Keys, let's say Rybakina wins that, and and Rybakina can certainly beat Swiatek. If Rybakina's kind of got the better form between Keys and Swiatek in that group, having won a title, having won matches as well in Tokyo and then withdrawn. I'm not thinking too much about her back either. And I know you've only got a couple more minutes, Carson, but that's totally fine, because I in terms of who wins the group, I'm going to go with Sabalenka and maybe Anisimova. Yeah, let's go Sabalenka, Anisimova to win the groups. And therefore, Sabalenka would play Swiatek and Gauff would play Anisimova. That would be my sort of semi-final lineup.
Yeah, I think I would have Sabalenka winning the group, and I'll pick Iga to win the group.
Okay.
Only because I have a little more confidence that she can get through. So for me, that would have Sabalenka versus Anisimova.
Yeah.
And then Swiatek.
Who's your final then going to be, Carson?
Final. think Sabalenka would play Swiatek. And I'll take Sabalenka to win it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have had a semi-quiet feeling for one player before this tournament, and I'm going to stick with that, and you'll see who that is right now. So I've got Sabalenka playing Swiatek in one semi, and I've got Gauff against Anisimova in the other. I'll have Sabalenka beating Swiatek, and I'll have Anisimova beating Gauff. And I'll have Anisimova getting revenge in the final, revenge for the US Open final loss. So I've got Anisimova to take the title. Carson has Sabalenka to take the title. Who are your players to emerge from the group, Brenner, and who's going to win the title, basically?
I'm going to go with Sabalenka. I want the sleeper pick. I'm going to do it. I'll go Pegula and Sabalenka. And I'll go Iga. And I'll go Rybakina.
Yeah, I don't dislike it, even though I've taken Anisimova to win the title. I don't dislike Rybakina emerging from the group because of her recent form.
And then what does that make it? We don't know the matchups, but from there, I'll go Iga.
Iga to win the title.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that 3 different winners from each of us?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, I also see a world where Iga doesn't make it out of the group. I think she will, but if she's playing Anisimova or Rybakina first, and suddenly she loses that,
I mean, I think about that. The Rybakina matchup has been difficult for her as of late, but also just the amount of tennis that Rybakina has played, and to some that's relevant, but obviously new conditions.
I think it's in her favor, actually, in a way.
Agreed. She's kind of like carrying her season into this final situation where others have been more at a halt and giving it one last go. So, shall see. Should be exciting.
We shall. Take care, Carson. Thanks very much. Oh, he's gone. But that's cool. I just want to have one more thing on this head-to-head between Iga and Elena, because it could well be important. They're in the same group and they might well be fighting for second place, first place. Who knows? They've just looking at the number of clay matches they've had. Actually, one of them went the way of. I was actually at that match as well. Rybakina Swiatek indoor clay. Actually, Rybakina's got a winning head-to-head on clay against Swiatek, funnily enough. So two of her, what is it? How many wins is it? 4, I think, altogether. 2 of her 4 wins came on clay. Now, one of them was Rome, and it was a withdrawal, and the other one was, retirement from Iga, and the other one was indoor clay. But yeah, I'm just thinking that these conditions, I think, will not necessarily be bad for Elena, and I think it's almost a 2-horse. It's a 3-horse race for me. I do see Madison as the outsider as to who's going to come through, but I'm going to go with. I've gone with Iga to come through, but ultimately it might not be. All right, listen, Brenner. We've got our predictions. We've gone with myself with Amanda Anisimova to win the title. Brenner going with Iga, and Carson with Aryna Sabalenka. Big thanks for joining me for this very quick and spontaneous podcast, Brenner.
Of course. Always good fun.
And to everybody else, I need to set up the video. It's not ready. Enjoy Paris Bercy, or I keep calling it Paris Bercy. It's no longer Paris Bercy, but I keep calling it that. Enjoy the Paris Masters. And to everybody else, you do know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.